Hi, I'm Annapolis Mayor Josh Cohen with your weekly update for Friday, February 19th, 2010. I want to share with you some of the things we're focusing on at City Hall and what we've been working on. And what we have been working on is this historic snowfall for the past 2 weeks. Snow first started falling on February 5th, and since that time, crews have been working around the clock. What we have found is that while Annapolis normally can focus on plowing snow and pushing snow away, the magnitude of this snowfall requires that we haul it away instead, which requires a lot more heavy equipment, bucket loaders, backhoes, bobcats, and skid loaders, and that's much more slow going. But we have been working nonstop to get it under control. As of today, almost all streets are smooth sailing. All the major routes are clear curb to curb. We've been able to reclaim on-street parking at many streets, especially in the commercial areas. Yard waste, refuse collection, and recycling has resumed according to its normal schedule as of yesterday, Thursday, February 18th. So things are getting back to normal. One of the areas which we need to emphasize is the importance of keeping sidewalks clear, not just for residents, but also for business persons. We've been pretty lenient about enforcing that given the magnitude of the snowfall, but City Code requires property owners to clear their sidewalk of snow shortly after snow stops falling. And it is a hazard waiting to happen, particularly as the sun comes out and melts the snow and then it gets freezing again at nighttime. We're serious about this, and we need property owners to step up and clear their sidewalks so people can walk safely in front of their properties. The big issue that we are working on, and we were working on until we got detoured by the storm, is our budget. We face a $9 million budget deficit through the end of this fiscal year on June 30th, as well as into next fiscal year, which ends June 30th of 2011. It's going to be very tough to close this budget deficit. We will do it because we are obligated by law to have a balanced budget. But it's not going to be easy. And to that end, I want to hear from citizens, from both residents and business people, about the services that Annapolis provides that you find important. Because not just me, but the City Council are very interested in getting a sense from the community when we need to cut back, what areas should we try and not cut back on, and what areas can we afford to cut back on. Because the City of Annapolis provides a whole range of services. And I don't believe the answer is just to cut across the board. I believe the answer is to be more surgical and smart. And if we do need to cut back and reduce some services or eliminate some positions, unfortunately, we want to do so in a way that is least impactful to the public. The two public budget forums that I'm hosting are on Monday, March 1st. Both of them are from 7:30 to 9 p.m. in the evening. The Monday one is tentatively at Georgetown East Elementary, and the following night, Tuesday, March 2nd, it will be at Mount Olive Community Life Center behind Mount Olive AME Church on Hicks Avenue in Parole. I encourage you to come out. We're going to do a brief presentation about what the city's revenues look like, what our expenses look like, to give a broad brush picture of the budget situation that we're facing. And then my hope is to hear from the public, both areas that you want to save as well as areas that you can identify for cuts. In terms of the budget, the City Council held our monthly work session yesterday on Thursday, February 18th, and we had a presentation about the Truxton Park Recreation Center. The Truxton Park Rec Center, if you have not been, is a beautiful facility. It was an expensive facility. We're going to be paying for it for the next 20 years. Through our debt service. But in terms of the annual operating costs, the director, Leanne Plummer, and Chief Administrative Officer Doug Smith had some good news to report, which is both in terms of revenues and expenses for the rec center. The revenues are higher than originally anticipated for this year, and the expenses are smaller than anticipated. So even though the City of Annapolis is going to be subsidizing some of the cost of the operations this year and a little bit into next year, it looks like the rec center is going to become self-sufficient much more quickly than we had hoped. And that is a testament not only to what a beautiful facility it is, but also to the outstanding work that Leanne and her team are doing over at the rec center. Finally, earlier this week I had the opportunity to sit down with our Congressman, Representative John Sarbanes. He's very interested in finding out in more detail what the challenges are that Annapolis faces and how he can be of assistance to us on Capitol Hill. We talked about the budget deficit. We talked about how Annapolis can improve our government performance and accountability. Just internally, a lot of our systems are pretty antiquated and we need to upgrade those so we can do a better job. And we talked about my top priority, which is economic development, and how the feds can assist with Annapolis's economic development efforts. We also talked about some of the American Recovery and Reinvestment Act dollars that the feds have sent down to Annapolis, the Stimulus Act funding. Annapolis has received about $3.5 million in stimulus money, which is critical because we have no money. So any money that the feds can offer is much appreciated. And Representative Sarbanes has been very key in securing some of this funding for Annapolis. Just as a few examples, we've received $2 million for our transit system. We've received over $700,000 for a grant to upgrade the parking lot at Gotts Court, not only to make it more structurally sound, but to make it much more Chesapeake Bay friendly. We've received over $100,000 for our Capital City Safe Streets Coalition. That coordinated strategy is one of the reasons why Annapolis is experiencing historic lows in crime. And the feds are a big part of that in terms of the support they're providing, not just financially, but in terms of agency support and coordination. We've received over $100,000 for energy efficiency upgrades in city government. And finally, we've received almost $100,000 for the Housing Authority to rehab about 150 units in the Annapolis Gardens and Bowman Court community off of West Street. So there's a lot going on. The budget is obviously the big issue that we are struggling with. We will get through it, but again, I'm looking for your input, your suggestions. Please give a call to the mayor's office at 410-263-7997. Send an email to mayor@annapolis.gov or check out my blog at mayorcohen.com. Thanks for listening.